I still can't get it on the.
One minute until showtime. Your show will go live in 5 seconds. 4, 3, 2, 1.
Hey, everybody. Good morning. Thank you so much for joining me on this Sunday morning's edition of Down to Earth. As you know, Down to Earth is a show in which we talk about the issues that matter. And this morning, being Sunday morning, we're going to talk about our spiritual energy. Where does our spiritual energy come from? I just want to say a special shout out to those who slept through the night. If you are here this morning, give God thanks. Give God really some serious thanks and praise because we made it. We're on the other side of this. We made it. Just a few days ago, I was talking with a family member and we were hypothesizing about the spread of the coronavirus. And we're so grateful that we live in a country where we don't, as much as there is enough for us to think about, we don't have to panic. We don't have to go crazy thinking that if it actually comes here, which it already is, that it's going to be this mass situation like we saw in China, and to some extent how Italy is fighting to control the virus, and it's even shut down the northern part of their country, which so happens to be the part of their country their most income from, Milan, and so on, right? So when you think about it, we're so very grateful that we woke up this morning, and that if you woke up this morning and you didn't have any kind of virus, you didn't have any kind of illness in your body, and if you're able to get up and move around, thanks, because God knows some of us deserve it. We don't deserve the grace and mercy for being alive, for getting up and walking, with all the stuff that we have done this week, with all the stuff that we have exposed our bodies to. Some of you even have multiple sexual partners. Let's just talk about it. Let's just get real for a second. Some of you, I'm going to say that again. Some of you have multiple sexual partners, and you know you should not have gone there. You know you should not have done that. By grace and mercy, you woke up this morning. Some of us have had such lives, have led such lives, that we don't even know what kind of viruses we've come in contact with. But here we are this morning. So we ought to be grateful that even if you were to get sick, you live in a country where if you get sick, it does not have to be a death sentence. It does not have to be a life sentence that threatens your longevity. You can still live. There are developments in science and in medicine today that prolongs life, even for those who have had some sort of life-threatening illness. Thank God for grace and mercy that if somebody is diagnosed with HIV or AIDS today, they can actually live, and it is not detectable on a blood test by taking medication, right? So we need to give God thanks that we still live in a country like this, and that we continue to live in a country where it supports the health of the human being, right? Where human life is valuable. We live in a country where our lives are valuable. We are seen as individuals. We're not seen as disposable pieces of property owned by the state. So you don't have any life value. They can do whatever they want with you. We don't live in that kind of country. So we should be so much more grateful for that. Even as we are concerned about the coronavirus, even as many of us, many of you this day, I know, and most people are not awake yet, by the way. Who got caught with daylight saving times? I did. So I keep a clock in my dressing room, right? And I didn't change it because I forgot. I just assumed that my electronic devices, including the watch I'm wearing and my phone, would have on my laptops. These would have the time on it. Well, I forgot. So I've sat there jolly fine putting on my makeup, not realizing the time has changed. So many people are not up yet because they think it's 9 o'clock, like I did. I'm sitting there enjoying my mug of tea and so on. You notice I'm without my mug of tea this morning. This is because I was enjoying myself, not realizing that the time had moved on. Oh, who hates daylight saving time? Raise your hand if we no longer want to see daylight savings time. I hate it. It's a waste of time, a waste of energy, and a waste of resources. I still want to get rid of it, but I don't know what to do. Right? Don't you want to get rid of it? What's the purpose of daylight savings time? So you know what happens today? For the rest of the week, the thing with it is it takes like about 2 weeks to recover. For the rest of the week, we're all chasing our tail. Like you're tired. Like tomorrow, you barely wake up. Wait until Monday morning and you have to get up to go to work. Oh, and then so you get home Monday evening and you're laid out because you're trying to catch up on an hour's sleep. And then by the time you take a nap and wake up, you're like, oh my God, I do need to go to bed because I have to get enough sleep for Tuesday morning. And then you go to work Tuesday and you're just as tired. I hate Stab it. It's time to end this foolishness. It's foolishness. It's a waste of time and resources. It does not save energy. It doesn't save anything. And then if you are all the way to work, guess who is worried all the way to work about if your kids got on the bus and is there some creepy pedophile person driving around waiting to snatch your kids like you saw in an episode of Criminal Minds or Lifetime? Our kids foolishness and changing all the clocks and industry and adjusting time schedules. It's not worth it. We're not saving one iota of energy. The people who thought about this had limited time spans and limited vision. Because 40 years later, here we are. And we're like, and haven't saved one jack energy, but it's going to make us all mad when we wake up. Oh, say, oh. So I'm just going to be real quick and get on out of your way so you can get on with enjoying the rest of your day, the rest of your Sunday, as you sit down and try to figure out, man, what am I going to do for the rest of the day? I don't know about you. It's coming on. I think I'm going to have a nap. I think after this, I'm probably going to need a nap. Because when I woke up this morning, I was like, why does it feel different? Why am I waking up? And then I looked at my phone and it was like 7:30. And I'm like, why is it 7:30 already? I'm like, it doesn't feel like 7:30. It felt like I just went to sleep. So why is it 7:30? There we go. Right? So today I want to talk about the anatomy of our spiritual energy and how our spiritual selves compare to our natural selves and how that affects us going forward. I think in a lot of ways, we take our bodies for granted, right? We just imagine, hey, everybody on Facebook, good morning. We kind of just think that our physical bodies, what our spiritual selves think, and how it impacts the physical body. And most of us don't spend a lot of time talking about it because now if you start talking about it, they might tell you that you're some new age believer or something. But in fact, it is in the Bible. That's why the Bible tells you, fear not, don't worry about anything. Doesn't the Bible say that? It says so in Philippians chapter 4, fear not. Don't worry about anything. Be not anxious for anything, but by prayer and supplication, make your requests known unto God. Because when you worry about stuff, the Bible also says in the book of Psalms, do not worry, do not fret. There are reasons for that. And sometimes we don't see it until it is too late. Us infractions that people do to me, I have learned to let it go. I have learned I have to discipline myself to tell myself, let it go and move on. Let it go and move on. It's not worth the spiritual energy. It's because it's not worth, guess what? It's not worth the physical manifestations of the negativity of that energy on my body. And they say they look at the spirit a lot. Well, if you look at my spirit, how come you're not looking at what my spirit does to my physical body? Traditional Christianity focuses on the spirit, but it does not tell us the correlation between the spirit and the physical body. Because they don't understand it and it was not taught or practiced, they tend to think that it is not normal. They tend to think that it's new age. There's nothing new age about your body. There's nothing new age about understanding that some of our thoughts affect our body, because the Bible, in fact, says so. Maybe the times that we lived in or grew up in, maybe those preachers and teachers of the Bible did not have a revelation on it. Maybe it wasn't for that time today. And we're seeing more diseases and have a better understanding of how science works today than we did 100 or 200 joyfully. The Bible says God wants us healed and whole in every area of our lives. That word whole there, meaning everything that affects you, your spirit, your emotions, your mind, your will. Part of the reasons why mental illness and mental unwellness took the church by that part of our being. We never focused on our mental self, never focused on the spirit. They were more focused on, well, they were focused on the spirit, they were focused on the mental situations, not seeing the correlation between the mental, the spiritual, and the physical. Like, did we really miss that? Wondering, why do I have this persistent back pain? Why do I have this pain in my shoulder? Why am I not freeing myself? Then you will understand more why the Bible implores us to old hurts and holding on to it and not forgiving is actually really very, very damaging. So a few years ago, I came across, it was about 5 years ago now, or maybe 6 years ago now. Time does fly fast. I was doing a program at a local church called the Bondage Breaker, and the pastor asked me to to teach his congregation on this, because in when he would ask for donations from people like Forgotten Harvest. What's the other major one? I think it was Forgotten Harvest here in the Metro Detroit area, and so they were delivering food to the church to be distributed to members. This is Rev, let's just get together. This is a good time for us to minister to them as well. We could actually get people saved. And I a physical need for food, but a lack of a spiritual need. That we were giving to the people was just physical food. They were going to come back in 7 days and be hungry, but they needed that spiritual food. So the pastor began ministering to them. I was one of the ministers. They were out for a while of praying for people. I said, wait a minute. I said, Pastor, I think we're missing it. And he said, I know. He said, I was wondering how long it would take for all of us to see that. I said, do you realize these folks have a physical manifestation? And we could make the direct correlation between what they were eating and how their spirits were. Based on the number of people who, after the service, would come forward, we recognized that they were missing something. So we began ministering to the physical and the spirit. There was a deeper need here, and the need was not being met. There was a deeper spiritual need that these folks had that caused them to be in this situation, and that if they don't change the way they think, and the pastor said, well, let's do a series on the bondage breaker. Well, while I was doing some research on the bondage breaker, you know me, I'm going to do some reading on something, and I'm going to figure out, I want to make my lack of knowledge, right? Being appointed to the task, did not know enough of what I should say to them. There is a place where you can rely on being led by the Spirit. But if there is a place where you're required to know more knowledge, then you should. So I went and in doing my research, I came across this, and that was mind blowing. And I began talking about it, and I was led to a work that was written, and how the ancients. This is why, let me just do this real quick. This is why I don't, everybody's searching for peace, and everybody's searching for purpose, and everybody's searching for a God. Everybody's searching for that thing inside of us that speaks to a higher self. That thing inside of us that knows created by someone who is the mastermind. And I have found that religious practices, there is that one element in all religions. It humbles all of us when it brings us to the point where you recognize that you are not your own self, you're not your own God. You can't even heal your own body. You know, you hear people today say you can't heal your own body. You our bodies are, so it humbles us because we recognize that there was a grand scheme of things. We recognize that there is a grand player, that we, as much as we think we are players, that there is the real player, the OG. The kids call him the OG, the original gangster. We think we're a gangster. Well, there is the OG. He has time in his hands, and he's just watching all of us play out this time. One of the things I've come to appreciate about other religions is how people in other religions incorporate the spirit and the physical, much to the chagrin of Christianity, superior to other religions. We are not superior. We just have a different knowledge base that Jesus Christ is the Son of God. Yeah. But at the same time, you don't, his name is Jesus Christ, is God. Amen. So many manifestations of illnesses. You know, traditional Christianity and fundamental Christians make it feel as if that people in Africa and certain parts of the world who are poorer, that the reason they have so many diseases is because they have heathen practices. You've heard that. You've heard that from pulpits. They don't say that today as much because of social media. I was growing up, that the reason people in Africa was because they were heathen and they were godless. I kid you not. They actually said that. What it's the awareness of your spiritual self and how it relates to your physical self, but over time, those practices dimmed. And so the ancients who taught that died out. People don't believe that anymore, just like we're seeing here in America. A lot of people don't go because people have not practiced it in some time, right? So here's the deal. The real deal is how our spiritual energy connects to our physical selves. And you might be asking, why? Why do I experience certain kinds of pain in certain parts of my body? And the question is, in your spiritual, and this is going to blow some of us away because a lot of us, it's going to impact our lives. And I'm going to read you a chart. I'm going to read it for you so you can see it, because you need to see it. Okay. So we know how the human body is made up. We have a physical body made up of major organs. Yeah. Okay. All right. We have a physical body made up of major organs. And if those don't work, then the whole system literally shuts down. So your physical body support, back pain, anybody? The base of your spine, and your immune system. Here are the physical dysfunctions commonly connected to those: chronic depression, and immune related disorders. Can I just tell you what the spiritual energy surrounding that is? Physical, family, and group safety and security. Most people today complain a lot about back pain. I'm just going to tell you what that is. That's financial worries. You're worried about your family's finances. You're worried about your family's financial security, your ability to provide for life's health, your desire to stand up for yourself so you are not persecuted and you are not being treated and mistreated, is correlated to the pain that we feel in certain parts of our body. Feeling as if you're at home, meaning you feel relaxed. You ever look at some people and say, boy, they just never feel any pain, do they? Well, they're more financially secure, and they never have to worry about being mistreated or being racialized. Black people. A few days ago, my daughter called me because she was driving to know, and then behave. And I said to myself, isn't it strange how only black kids have to worry about that? That white kids never have to have this conversation about being pulled over by cops. They never have to worry about driving down the street and worry about being pulled over by cops. The physical manifestations of that deep embedded worry is manifested as and depression. So when people tell you that there is nothing to worry about or you shouldn't have to worry about this, just remember this. The reason that a lot of black folks end up with back pain is because we are the ones who have to worry about law and order. You ever notice when white people talk about, especially white law enforcement, when they talk about law and order, they're directing it at black people because the image the society has, and I know you're all going to say this is racism and so on. I don't care. The facts speak for itself. The truth will always hurt. But the truth of the matter is that black people are more picked on simply because we stand up for ourselves in a society that continues to treat us as racist, not because of the content of our character, but you just show up and the color of your skin immediately means there's not going to be law and order. Why are you talking about law and order when I'm present? Do not, you're racially discriminating against me. Do not talk about it. I'm not a rabble rouser, but I will start. If you start on me, we're going to see something different here. Do you see what I have to constantly, all that this does? And then you get depressed because then you're like, I don't want to live like that. I just want to live in peace. Why can't I just get up and go to a ball game? Why can't I just go to the bar and not worry about being pulled over? Not worry if I have something to drink, not worry about sitting in the bar and some idiot decides that he's going to wear a MAGA hat. And because he's wearing a MAGA hat, he feels empowered and feels like he can pull something. And if the police show up, they're going to lock me up. That's where that comes from. Do you see what I'm saying? So all this is going on in your mind and it's latent in your mind, but you start walking around like, man, I feel like I have a pain in my back. So you start going to the doctor. I think the base of my spine, it feels like my sciatica. And then you start falling into depression without understanding why. You know what the Bible says? Fear not. And if we stick to what the ancients have been telling us, we're going to be all right. For through the ages, the Bible has stood the test of time and has said, fear not. Don't worry about it. Don't think about it. When you feel these things coming, because the battle is not yours, it is the Lord's. Don't worry about it. You can sit there and you can say, I am going to empower myself. I am telling you, one of the most distasteful parts of parenting was when I had to tell my children that if you get pulled over by the police, this is how to act. I resented it. I am telling you, I was mad and I was angry because I know my white friends will never have to have that conversation with their children. This racism has got to stop. It has to end. There is no reason. Let me tell you this one fact. I read a history the other day. For those of you who haven't heard this yet, the human genome, everybody doing your DNA, all do your DNA, everybody doing your DNA. There is no DNA that tells you if you're white, you're black, you're red, or green. From Cameroon, some came from Ireland, some came from Egypt, some came from India, some came from China. That's all it tells. I, for one, refuse to ever have to tell my children how to conduct themselves if they get pulled over by the cops. Not because they're doing anything bad, but simply because of the color of their skin. I'll tell you one thing I know. I know that whom the sun sets free is free indeed. And I have been set free. I ain't worried about it. I ain't gonna think about it because one thing it ain't gonna do is do what? It ain't gonna give me no back pain. It ain't gonna send me into depression. And it's definitely not gonna give me a sciatica problem. Do I have a witness? As for me and my house, we're gonna believe and stand on the word of God. And I am gonna believe that someday we shall overcome and this stuff is gonna go away. And I am serious about that. Even my microphone is going crazy up in here. I'm just telling you right now. Because this has got to stop. So many people of color are transformed and have been confounded by issues. When I look at the common illnesses associated with black folks, when they used to tell you that if you do your DNA, you're going to find out why you're more prone to cholesterol and blah, blah, blah. Lie. What it is the one condition we are predisposed to is the general atmosphere in the society of racism against black people. That's what it is. That is the common factor. That's the commonality. And when I found myself, my baby, my precious princess, yes, she's mine. She's my princess. My body made her. She came out of my body. I raised my child. And I had to tell my children that if they get my daughter, my oldest daughter is an attorney for the life of God. And she has to be learned how to conduct herself if she gets pulled over and she's an attorney. It's in her tags on her car. She's an attorney at law. There is something wrong, and the common white person out there gets pulled over and don't have to worry about that because of appearance and the color of skin. This stuff got to stop. Y'all better rise up and understand that you need to change this stuff. Whatever you have to do, that's where your activity comes from. You look at it just like the ancients did, just like Martin Luther King did, just like Malcolm Evers did, Malcolm X did, and Medgar Evers. This form of oppression. Not when you're telling me that the color of my skin denotes what kind of person I am when the science does not match it up. Something is wrong with the anatomy of our spiritual energy. Something is wrong when preachers get in the pulpit, white preachers get in the pulpit on a Sunday morning and tell people that the races should not mix. Something is wrong. A man named Kenneth Hagin, who still preaches in Oklahoma, got in the pulpit on a Sunday morning and said white girls should not be with black boys. Something is wrong. The anatomy of his spirit, I know about you. I don't have to wait to go to heaven to find out that they didn't make it in heaven. That is going to prevail. I'm not going to mention because that's what they want. See, people like me now, they're going to say, oh, she's an angry black woman. You bet they black for a second. Attach that to it. Let me show you how angry I am. Why should I have this conversation with my 17-year-old princess? So my child has to drive aware that she's black. We call it driving while black. While she's applying to go to college, we call it applying while black. My daughter is an attorney at law. We call it attorney at law while being black. Why? This is what this is. The anatomy of our spiritual energy, America, has been off for 400 years. And if we don't fix it, it's going to last another 400 years in peace. You better hear what I'm saying to you right now by the Spirit. You better fix this thing before it gets any further. Fix it. You have an opportunity to fix it this year. Fix it before it gets worse, America. Now, we're talking yourself. I'm just going to tell you some things, right? Some of us have chronic lower back pain, right? You have OBGYN problems. You have pelvic floor back pain. Jesus. Sexual potency and urinary problems. You know what organs those connect to? What I just described. The organs that's connected to is sexual organs, large intestines, lower vertebrae, pelvis, appendix, bladder, money and sex, power and control, creativity. Let me just stop on the power and control thing for just a minute and the sex thing. Typically in this society, they present the black man as a stupid, all he's good for, he's an ape just to have sex with. Mandingo. Anybody remembers that? You remember all that foolishness? You know where all that came from? The white man was really worried about his sexual potency. All this stuff comes from this racist ideology that has separated and destroyed this country. And if we don't sit back, you know, sometimes you need to, because like I told you, depth of the internalization of this foolishness. She said something that blew my mind. She said, well, Mom, if I'm driving in my car and it's two black girls driving in the car, she said, we don't worry about being pulled over. They're not worried about that. But if a black girl is driving on the car and there's a black guy in the car, he said, she's in trouble. You ought to be worried about getting into college, going to college and studying for the rest of your life. What you're going to think like that? But the physical man, so a lot of older black Americans find themselves with these, it comes from a lifetime, y'all, of worrying about this stuff. You don't even realize you're worried about it because we go to the ball game, we go on vacation, we hang out with our family. But deep down inside of all of us, we know the minute we get behind the wheel of a car, the minute you get out in public, a lot of older Americans will not start or say anything when bad things start happening because they're like, you don't want to say anything? You don't want to do anything because they'll come, because their experience has been they will get locked up. And I'm sitting here like, seriously? Try me. I ain't joking with negativity. These things sit on you and over a lifetime. No matter how you live healthily, no matter what you do, you exercise. Most of us, we've been exercising for 20 years, eating right for 20 years. Every now and then you slip off a little bit, but you still end up with chronic problems. It comes from the spirit is impacted by what we see in the society. If all the look at this young man who died the other day, Kobe, right? Kobe Bryant. He had a public indiscretion, right? I remember the story about it. I don't know if you all remember when it was going on. The girl who accused him of raping her, you remember that she was going to have sex with Kobe Bryant that night and she was going to get paid. They don't talk about that. He lived a life after that. He stayed with the same woman. He didn't get caught up in anything else. And then he died. And all of a sudden, that one indiscretion was the white men. That's why in the South, they started taking down Confederacy and started taking down statues of generals because they were filled with evil. They killed people just because of the color of their skin. Are you going to talk about this man having consensual sex with a girl who then retracted it? Are you going to tear down his whole life and his whole legacy while his children are still alive? He has a 17-year-old daughter who's going to grow up, and that's what you want because you don't care. Meanwhile, Ben Roethlisberger from the Philadelphia Steelers or whatever, is that it? The Philly Steelers or whatever, the Steelers. Ben Roethlisberger actually raped and stalked a girl, and the NFL holds him up as their hero. Do you hear what I'm saying? But Antonio Brown is cast out. But Ben Roethlisberger still gets to play. Why? Because his indiscretions didn't become public? Do you see what I'm saying? The racism. And it is always in the back of our minds. You apply for a job and your color is the most important thing. So my daughter's first name is Alexandra. My youngest daughter's name is Anna. I like those names. That's why I named them Alexandra and Anna. I didn't think too far into, Laquan and so on. I don't like those names. But then after I named them, I realized that putting their name on a resume is going to be advantageous in light of the racist society we live in. So Alexandra applies for a job. Alexandra gets a phone call back because Alexandra speaks like Alexandra, right? But when Alexandra shows up for the interview, it's a whole different ballgame. They're astounded. They look at her resume and they actually question whether or not the child writes the stuff on her resume that she is not. So you actually interned at the Cook County prosecutor's office in Illinois, and she's like, yes, I did. Actually worked for someone with her color should not have been exposed to those places. You see, the problem is this, that they don't understand. This generation, they're not like my generation. My generation went along to get along. We saw what our parents and grandparents went through. We're like, we're just going to put up with it. We even went as far as making ourselves over to look like them. We put stuff in our hair that wasn't good for our hair. We wore their makeup just so we would fit in, so we wouldn't stand out, so it wouldn't be a problem. But them suckers never forgot the color of our skin. You see, this generation, they don't care about none of that. My daughter is like, I'm going to live my life out loud the way I want to. I'm going to wear my hair the way I want to. I'm going to show up the way I want to. She's like, hell no, I'm not wearing pantyhose. It's too itchy. I'm going to show up with my skin on. And mom, if I have to go hang my own sign that says Alexandra R., attorney at law, that's what I'm going to do. Do you understand? It's called peace of mind. It's called, she's unshakable. My youngest daughter wants to study medicine. You know, one of the most hurtful things that I heard her say, y'all get this, is when she said, I don't believe I can live in this racist society after I graduate medical school. I'm going to go join Doctors Without Borders, where my medical skill will be used to actually help people. So nobody don't come up and tell me that I ain't making it because of the color of my skin. That twists me. That hurt me. I'm like, there's no way that children should be so aware of how divisive and racist. And I'm like, maybe it's a good thing that they are aware now, because then, from what I know about the physical manifestations of illnesses, these things won't become their problems. Let me give you another list. This is going to blow your mind. You ready for this one? Arthritis, gastric and duodenal ulcers, colon and intestinal problems, pancreatitis, diabetes. Is that our issue? Hey, right? Anorexia, bulimia, liver dysfunctions, hepatitis. Here are the organs: abdomen, stomach, upper intestines, liver, kidney, adrenal glands. When you have to worry about your safety and security and your group safety and security, what happens? You feel that thing in your abdomen. A few years ago, they did a study. You've heard me talk about epigenetics. They did a study why these folks were so prone to PTSD, the descendants of Holocaust survivors who had never actually lived in the Holocaust. Their grandparents did. But why were these people manifesting violence? And why were they prone to violent behavior? They couldn't stay in one spouse. And they did a study. You know what they found out? In the DNA of how experience the Holocaust. Stay with me. That was done on them. The Holocaust, as terrible as it was a few years. What about the experience of and racial oppression, even after slavery ended, even after Reconstruction? What about them? The physical manifestations of PTSD were evident in behaviors and illnesses. Are you listening to what I am saying? Are you hearing me? So when you hear people talk about reparations, you're not just talking about 40 acres and a mule, dude. You're talking about recovering your peace, recovering your health, recovering your ability to think normal. Some of us are so jacked up with racism that we end up just saying, maybe if I just pretend like I don't exist. You marry white, you marry somebody white, then you live and you just try to disappear. You this. He doesn't talk up, he doesn't say nothing. He's trying to disappear. So he's trying to avoid all of these societal impacts. He thinks if I just go, I just show them that, being, I'm not one of them. One of who? One of the people whom they raise, who have been oppressed. One of the people subject to epigenetics, the science of violence and illnesses in our DNA coming from previous. Let me give you some more. We're going somewhere. Listen to this. So, one of the biggest organs in the body is who? The one that beats under your left breast, your heart. So check this out. The physical dysfunction failure. You ever heard of myocardiopathy? That's the one of a broken heart. You've heard of that one, huh? Yeah, that one happens. That's when you break up with somebody and your heart miss a beat until it gives you a heart attack. Real stuff. Or COPD. Listen to this. The organs, obviously, heart, your circulatory system, your lungs, your shoulders and arms. Here is what the spiritual energy is. Love and hate, resentment and bitterness, grief and anger, self-centeredness, forgiveness and compassion, hope and trust. And I'm just going to end right there. When your hope is gone, and when you don't have any trust, you can almost expect to see the manifestations of this. Your heart don't work right, cardiomyopathy, right? Lung cancer, right? Bronchial and pneumonia, upper back and shoulder pain, and COPD. Let me tell you right now, this is your deliverance. This is the moment when we all collectively, all of us right now, I want us all to think about all the stuff that fights, all the injustice, nigger to your face. And I said, who would do that? My first reaction was, who on God's green earth would dare to do that? He said, have you ever been called a nigger to your face? He said, until you've been called a nigger to your face, you don't know what it is like to walk around in my skin. And I'm like, but I have the same skin as you do, Jude. And it made me think about it all these years later, when all these things, all these injustices have been thrown on people. All these things have been thrown at all of us collectively. They put us all in a society that we live in, hell to the no. My daughter is actually contemplating going to live somewhere else and fight it and excavate it till you change it from the ground up. Most people I know, they just stayed in the game and they just went along to get along until when they started speaking out, then they found a way to know who I'm talking about. You were former judges and you were doing as long as you went along to get along, you were fine. But the minute you started speaking up for injustice, the same things that your white counterparts did and got away with it, you did it. And you thought that because you were a judge, it really is. Yeah? Yeah. See what I'm talking about? We need a healing and we need a deliverance. And how are we going to achieve that? We're going to tell ourselves that from this day forward, I am not going to be affected by anything this racist society says about me, my gender, or my race. Matter of fact, science says race does not exist. Post the link to the darn story. I will, so you all go read it. You spend way too much time, my brothers and sisters, looking at the information they're feeding you instead of doing the real research and reading the real truth. They're not going to tell you this. They're not going to call a press conference and hold scientists accountable for this on CNN for me to come and tell millions of Americans this one truth. Why would they do that? Because it suits them for you to live impoverished and lack of truth. It suits them for you to live under the radar, for you to live where you are confined. Wind this message and listen to it over and over again. And you're going to, every time you hear this over and over, you're going to hear truths that you never heard. Go back and listen to it. Tune out the songs. You've listened to enough love songs. You've listened to enough hurt songs. Tune it out and listen to this message that is giving you the truth. The truth is going to revolutionize you. The truth is going to set you free. People in Africa, it's for people in the Caribbean, it's for people in South America. The truth is going to set us all free because a lie has been told to us from the dawn of time by the people who control information. And the science says we all are human. They only know if you're not human, you're some other animal. We are 99.5% identical. We're human. It does not know race. They have been lying to us and they have subjected us and messed up our spiritual energy into manifesting physical illnesses. Now, if there ought to be some reparations, that ought to be part of it. So now what you going to do? This is your deliverance. This is your deliverance. Now that you know the truth, let this truth be in you. Let this truth permeate your mind, your spirit. You're driving while black. When your kid graduates school, she's not applying while black the way he was raised. When your child is contemplating driving, until that comes to you, you will never know what it's like. It's time for this to change. This is your moment. This is your time. This is your healing. Let all that pain you're feeling, it comes from being worried about money. It comes from being unsettled, especially now with the yesterday, the EPA released a list of disinfectants that we're to use. And I was like, is the government endorsing Clorox and Lysol? I was like, since when does the United States government issue a list of products that is Clorox and Lysol? I'm like, those are the only brands of disinfectants that are in America? I'm like, you got to be kidding me. More Lysol and Clorox? What the hell is going on? Let the truth set us free. The truth of the matter is that our spiritual energy directly impacts our mental and physical energy. While you're driving down the street, no matter how tempted you are, don't think about driving while black. I am a person. Say that. I am a person. Say that again. I am a person. I'm not a black person. I'm not a white person. I'm not an Indian. I'm not a Native American. I'm not a Hispanic. I'm not a Latino. I'm not Asian. I am a person. I am a person. First and foremost, I am a person. And if we don't get that mind back in us, our descendants are going to continue to manifest. According to the science of epigenetics, they're going to continue to manifest these things. We need to fix this right in here. You have an opportunity to do that. Let's do it. My name is Harriet Kimmick. This program has been done. Thank you so much for joining me. I encourage you to go to my website, harrietkimmick.com. And for the least, being you, even as you contemplate why I have to have this conversation with my child, why I have her worry about that when she really should just be concerned about her grades. She shouldn't have to be worried about societal conditions that she has no control over. She's 17. She needs to just be a 17-year-old teenager, just living her life, worrying about prom and what dress she's going to wear to prom, who's going to be her date, and what they're going to do after graduation. That's all she needs to worry about. My daughter went to law school. She graduated from law school. What should she be worried about but who she should marry, how she's going to live? Why should she have to worry about applying while black? That's societal impacts trying to superimpose upon her a set of conditions that will make her lame later on. The devil is a liar. Ain't gonna happen. Why should I, as a black woman, have to settle for being in business for myself because they won't hire back and won't agree to the funding because it's made up of a group of white women who sit down and feel threatened because they're still essentially racist and is hearing the recording in their minds from their grandmothers and great grandmothers telling them that black women were having sex with their uncles and brothers and fathers and great grandfathers. So hate black women. Why? I ain't gonna worry about it because it's not gonna do what? It's not gonna reveal any kind of physical manifestation. Or people who feel like they support you 1 minute. I'm not gonna worry about none of that. Whom the sun sets free is free indeed. Amen. Amen. Go to my website, harrietkimmick.com. Also go to Anchor FM. Look for my podcast page. This is We'll be back tomorrow when we talk about more of the issues that matter. Until then, it's been my pleasure. It's been an honor. Thank you so much. Be blessed. Mm-hmm.